everybody, I'm Tom Vassell.
I'm Roy Kenny.
And I'm Chris Yee.
Today we're talking about a little game here called Expressions. And I gotta say, the game's called Expressions. It shows facial expressions. The tagline says, can you and your friends read each other's expressions to create perfect harmony? And I was like, okay, I played a zillion of these games and I put it aside. That was kind of done with that.
Sure, is this one of those grumpy,
My expression was,
intrigued? It's not that.
It's not at all. This is a deduction card game where you are attempting to guess the cards in other people's hands. That's the game. I'll show you. First thing I want to show you real quick is that the game comes in a box. So this, if you want to carry this around and just have the cards, you can, but I prefer to keep the slightly bigger box. But this comes with a deck of cards that show the different expressions, but essentially you have 5 suits of cards that are numbered from 1 to 10. So you're going to decide whether to play easy or hard, and you're going to put this card in the middle. So normal here tells you how many cards you're going to deal out to each player. So if we're playing a 4-player game, I'm going to shuffle the deck, I'm going to deal 11 cards to each player, and then the remaining 6 cards go into a timer stack. Then starting with 1 player, you go around the table and you each take a turn. After the last player goes, the top card from the timer stack is revealed, which A is going to give everybody some information, and B is a timer for the game. When the last card in the timer stack is revealed, the game will end. On a player's turn, they can either put a card in front of them for informational purposes, or they can guess a card in someone else's hand. If you put this card in front of you, it depends which side you put up. So if I put this card in front of me, I'm telling everybody, this is my highest purple card. 7 is my highest purple card. Or, this is my lowest purple card in my hand. I have to have, for me to put those out, I have to have other purple cards in my hand. If I put this out, this is saying, I have no more purple cards in my hand. And then if the number's out, I'm saying I have at least one other 7 in my hand. Or more. But there are more 7s in my hand. Now when you guess, you're just guessing. I'll look at Joe and I'll say, Joe, do you have the red 4? If Joe says yes, then Joe will put the red 4 from his hand over here by Harmony, and then I also will put any card I want from my hand on the Harmony side. That's giving information out to everybody. If I say, Joe, do you have the 1 of yellow, but Frank has it, Frank will put it on the angry side, and again, I have to put a card here on this side. If I say, Susan, do you have the yellow 3? And nobody has it, but Susan also doesn't have it. It's in the timer deck. Then I still have to get rid of a card here on the angry side. So as the game goes by, you're going to be putting lots of cards on this side, and it's going to look like Harmony's winning. But at the end of the game, every card that was played for a clue goes to the angry side, and all the cards still in players' hands go to the angry side. But if you have more cards in the Harmony side, you win. There's a few things here. You'll notice in a 2-player game, you're flipping 2 cards from the stack each round. And if you play with the hard mode, you will also have a timer stack where you're flipping 2 cards each time. All right, so the way that you use a card to give a clue is 3 of the ways that you do that are the same as actually the crew.
Yeah, for sure.
And if anyone's played the crew and you start teaching, they're going to go, oh, this is like the crew. But I want to be clear that I don't, other than that way you give clues, and you can give multiple clues in this one, that's the only similarity between this and the crew.
Because it doesn't have any of that trick-taking type stuff to it, but it is also a very good, very lateral step from it, where you say, hey, if you enjoy the crew, you might like the deduction in this one, but it's a completely different game.
I'm on record with saying I don't normally like games with just numbers on cards, but that's not fully true because I enjoy the crew. I enjoy Nana or whatever the other name, Trio, and I enjoy this one. If it has that air of like deduction and trying to figure stuff out, it becomes a little bit more enjoyable. And this game is very much that, trying to be like, what did they have? What did that clue mean? What is going on in their head when they played it that way? You know, that sort of thing.
If there is one similarity between this and the crew, other than numbered cards and all, it's that player count is dramatically more difficult as you go up.
Oh, for sure.
It just is. You have less information, and people have to give more information out there. Oddly enough, I think this game is best with 3.
I think that's a sweet spot for sure.
3 is great. 2 is really fun because I don't have a card. You know, my opponent probably, or my co-player probably has it. Or it's in a very massive deck that serves as the timer. And so...
And the more that deck runs down, the more information you're getting, you know? So it's kind of like, later in the game, you're going to have a lot more stuff going on. But early in the game, it's like, do we just build up clues and or do we take risks early, you know, that sort of thing.
Right, because I love the fact that I play a clue, that is 1 negative point.
Yeah.
Right, so you're kind of creating your own target points to play against by giving more clues. By the time you get to a 5-player game, you know, talking about scaling, you have to give some clues, but one player at the end of the game might have like 1 clue in front of them that says like, I don't have yellow cards. You're like,
yeah.
I'm still having a hard time guessing you because they are taking their turns to guess other players.
Right.
Yeah, it becomes a little bit wonkier and a little more chaotic feeling at the highest player counts. But to be fair, it still works.
And the higher the player count, the more buckets you're having to guess cards out of. Even at lower player counts, you just have more cards in your hand. So even when you're guessing, it's like you have a better odds of just guessing. But like at the other player counts, it's like the clue that they give you better means something very important. Like, this is the other card in my hand, that sort of thing, you know.
And to that end, meta can and will break out. Like, if I put out a 3 and it says, I have other numbers of that type in my hand, turn 1, I'm going to expect you to have at least 2 others, hopefully 3, but you know that's going to be a thing that's going to happen. And if you play that on turn 4, well, maybe that's just to clarify where a card is.
And we even started stuff where it's like, oh, if I play where I have, this is my lowest of this card, we're just like assuming that the one you have is the one right above it. And having those sort of meta things help you get those guesses out there, which is, you know, I think different things are going to adapt with different groups, what they're going to kind of mean with the different ways you can give clues.
The game comes with a hard mode in it so that if your group plays this a lot and really starts like, I play out 1 card, like, that means Roy has the purple 7. You're like, I played a blue 3.
Everybody knows when you play the blue 3, it means the purple 7.
So it does have a hard mode in it. I'm not even close to needing the hard mode, but
Sure.
it's nice that it's there.
I also really like the giving clues, not just by giving a clue, but when you have to discard a card, bad or good, you give out so much information on that. And to me, that's just fun to sit there and go, okay, they discard that. Why? They're trying to give us a message. Why?
I like games with meaningful decisions in it, and this game has a lot of meaningful decisions in it, just because you're like, all of those opportunities of like, okay, why did they do that? What's going on? Choosing the card that you're going to discard is super important, like you said, and just trying to figure out the best way to give clues that are going to give some sort of information that somebody's going to at least guess some of the cards correctly in your hand, you know?
It feels, the game, I talk about when games feel giving, and that's one of my favorite things. I guessed wrong. Dang it, I have to get rid of a card from hand in the penalty pile. But like you're saying, that, I'm like, no one's going to figure, oh, if I play out the blue 6 from my hand, people might go, oh, these other 2 clues that Chris played make sense now.
Yeah.
That's giving even when you messed up. It's still hard, and you made it harder, but that feels great.
Yep.
What would you give it?
I think I'm actually going to give this one an 8. I enjoy it. I mean, it is still just a card game with not a whole lot of theme to it, but I still really enjoy the deduction and the cooperative play. I like cooperative games, and this one's just a lot of fun to play together, to try to work together to deduce all of the numbers.
Yeah, now realize I tilt towards deduction games. It's in my top 5 genres for sure. I'm giving it an 8.5. I'm just tickled pink by this. It's not quite a filler. It says 15 minutes in here. It's probably closer to 20 to 30.
Yeah.
Probably, unless I guess you have a groove and you're just playing, right? But we're starting to think. But it also isn't too brain burnery, and a lot of it also depends on how you do things. Like we allow. I'm a little loose at the table, so if someone's sitting there going 1, 2, 4, 5, 6 blue, and you're like, well, the way they're counting might give out information. I'm like, oh, for goodness sake, I don't care. I'm okay with that, and it keeps things smooth, and so I like that a lot. I love this game.
I'm also giving it 8.5. I think it's great. I mean, I had very low expectations. When you see a brand new company, it says,
Called Barn Made Games.
There you
right.
go.
And it wasn't until after we played it, I was like, oh, no, I've met this guy at Dice Tower West.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, that's a nice feeling, right? But I went into it just being like, this looks like a knockoff of Inside Out. Purple,
Yes.
purple, scared guy, blue, depressed, sad person, or whatever. And then you realize, oh, that's not this game at all. It was a really great surprise, but I think it's super solid. The more I play it, the more I'm able to figure out when is the right time to suss out this piece of
And
information.
kind of read the information people are trying to give you. It's like, okay, this is what Chris is meaning by that. You know,
There's a few little things that I think as a first game from a first brand new publisher, like in the tips and tricks section, they say you can discard a clue card to the negative point pile once it's no longer relevant.
that would begin the rules.
Yeah, I'm like, that's not
that's
a tip and that's a rule.
Yeah.
It's there. It's a small rule book, but just little things like that, I think they could have ironed out. But talk about a great effort from a brand new publisher. That's great.
Well, there you go, folks. That is Expressions. I'm Tom Vassell,
I'm Roy Kennedy.
And I'm Chris Gee.
and we're making expressions.